If you had to give yourself a rating of 1 to 10 in the areas of, do you have a quality product? Are you delivering stellar service? And are you creating a truly unique experience for your clients? How would you rate? You see, the trinity of those three things are the basis for success in any organization. And that is what we are talking about today. How you can lead yourself to lead your team so that you can make sure that you are at the pinnacle of delivering amazing experiences that people will remember for a lifetime, that'll also catapult you to the top layer of success. I'm Clara Capano, and this is Women Winning Their Way. Well, welcome everyone. We are here for another episode of Women Winning Their Way. And, so many of us look at our days and the only word is chaos. We are going from 0 to 100 all over the place. And there's no one who understands that better than our guest today. So, Christin, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Clara. I really appreciate it.
I am really excited to dive in because I think you're going to really be able to give a unique perspective and a lot of value. But before we do that, why don't you just introduce yourself briefly?
Thank you. I am Cristin Marvin. I am the owner of a company called Solutions by Christin, and I work one-on-one coaching restaurant owners in the independent space, in addition to a lot of other things, author, podcaster, speaker, all the good stuff. So happy to be here.
I love it. Fantastic. Well, the first question I want to ask you is, the title of the podcast is Women Winning Their Way. What comes to your mind when you hear that title?
I love this question. I'm glad you gave it to me last night because I spent some time thinking about it. And a couple of my clients really came to mind right now when we talk about women winning their way. I think what shows up for me there is women that are very clear in their vision. They know how to show up with intentionality. Mm-hmm. They take care of themselves. They are they've got clarity on exactly, and I know you love that word, but they've got clarity on exactly where they're going, and they are self-aware about the roadblocks that are getting in their way and how to remove them.
Perfect. That's awesome. I love it. So I want to dive into your journey a bit because you come from the restaurant industry and I love food and, it seems like it would be fun and glamorous, but we've heard it a million times before that restaurant, that is one of the most difficult industries to be in, super high risk. So knowing that it's so high risk, so multifaceted, very, very demanding, what even drew you to something like that, where there's such a high failure rate?
It is, it is true. And operating a restaurant today, especially in the independent space, is harder than it's ever been. You're seeing chains file for bankruptcy as well. Just heard TGI Fridays just filed today. 80% of restaurants close within the first 5 years. So I was drawn into the industry like many. It was my first job. At 15, I started as a line cook. And I thought it was a blast. Mm-hmm. And it was a great way for me to work many different positions, working up from server to bartender to assistant general manager to GM to managing partner, regional, and then pivoting, which I'm sure we'll dive into. But there was always something for me to learn. And every day was this beautifully controlled chaos, depending on what restaurant I was working in and what environment. But the restaurant industry is an absolute blast. And your interaction with your team, the money that you can make, and depending on the position that you're in, the fact that every day is completely different is exciting. And it's, it put me through college. And when I graduated, I just realized, looking around at jobs in marketing, I've said, I love what I'm doing. Why would I pivot now? Mm-hmm. And actually use that degree after 4 years? But it's a blast, and you get to meet so many fun and interesting people every single day. And for me, that coupled with a constant learning and growing and challenge of getting through the grind of every shift was really what kept me in it.
Yeah. So it sounds like, again, that passion, just like with anything, you really got to have a passion for it.
So true. So true.
And I kind of say it tongue in cheek because, there are so many restaurants, but you know what? There's lots of attorneys, there's lots of doctors, there's lots of speakers, there's lots of podcasts. The reality is, not everybody makes it. So, what makes a good restaurant? What makes a good business owner in general?
Yeah. Really having their finger on the pulse of three important things: food, service, and ambiance. These are
Mhm.
the key ingredients that Danny Meyer talks about in his book, Setting the Table, which I read in my early 20s when I was entering into management and leadership, and really was a guidebook for me on how to be successful in the industry. If you're intentional about every single aspect of your business and how you are treating your employees and treating your guests, you're going to be successful.
Mhm.
It's never, like I said, the industry right now is in one of the most challenging points it's ever been, even harder than during the pandemic. And the pressure right now for owners to be really good at managing the business aspect of
Mhm.
what they're doing is more important than it's ever been, on top of taking care of your people. People are first and foremost
Yeah.
the most important investment, but running the business is so equally important. And truly, a lot of owners don't get into restaurants because they love running a business. They love food and they love entertaining and they love throwing a party every day. And like you said earlier, restaurants look like a blast. They are so difficult because usually for an independent operator, you are alone in the business. Maybe you're lucky to have a partner, but you've got to be the expert in marketing, in your financials, in HR, in people and culture and development. And it's very, very challenging to manage all those things and be present
Yeah.
every single day for your guests and your team.
Definitely. Tell me if I'm off base here, but in what you were saying, I see a lot of similarities just in other businesses too. So you talk about food service and ambiance. I could think that that could kind of almost go into food being product, service being service, but then ambiance being again the experience that we create. And I think that trinity really goes everywhere. It's, what is the product? Do you have a quality product?
Yeah.
Are you creating and delivering exceptional service? But
Yeah.
then also, are you creating an experience? I mean, do you think that those are sort of the three things that, regardless of company, that, leaders and business owners need to look at?
Absolutely. I think it should be included in every single company's mission statement and vision statement to uphold those things and their core values. I It's funny that you say food service and ambiance showing up everywhere. I can't have an interaction with any other company if it's a tech platform I'm using or anywhere I go. I am always looking for that excellent service and that amazing ambiance. And I'm always looking around, wondering why they're doing the things that they're doing and why businesses make the decisions that they make. And I see so much opportunity for service, especially in the tech space, when things go wrong and I need to reach out for customer service or whatever. And so I really measure a company on the level of service that they are providing, and if they're willing to go above and beyond, and if they care, and if they're genuinely invested in helping. And that's how I pick my plumbers and my electricians and my bookstores
Mhm.
and my tech companies. It's very
And
important.
I mean, maybe I'm not even thinking about this, but I don't really think it's that difficult. I think maybe we just get busy and we start moving too quickly. But I mean, when you look at the component of it, it's just showing genuine interest, being present where you are, asking a few questions. And like you said, following through. Why do you think it's so difficult for people to deliver good service? Because that's something I hear across the board, regardless if I'm talking with another business owner or my mom or whatever. You hear this time and time again. Customer service isn't where it used to be.
Yeah. I think people have great intentions when they open a business, but I don't think that they put systems in place in order to support that.
Yeah.
I think lack of training is a huge one. And we know where you put your focus and your energy, that's where the energy is going to flow, right?
Mhm.
And if you are wanting to provide an amazing experience in the realm of restaurants, it starts with hiring people that are passionate about taking care of people and then training them and setting expectations on what success looks like. And a lot of people don't do that. If you hire people and you just kind of let them go and there's no steps of service and there's no way to measure success, or you're not coaching them consistently, to help them get better, or you're not paying attention to the negative reviews and looking at those as opportunities to get better and celebrating the great reviews so that your team knows what those great moments felt like and what they did to make that guest experience amazing, then it's a lot fuzzier, right? You can see where creating those systems and celebrating those moments adds a lot of clarity to it. But if you don't have the time and the energy to focus, or the people to focus on all of that, it can very quickly fall by the wayside.
Definitely. I want to piggyback on something that you said a little earlier. And this was, again, taking care of your people. And I think many times when we hear taking care of your people, we automatically go to the customer. The customer is always right. But I think what you're talking about is internally your people. And I personally have the mindset that if leadership takes care of their team, the team will take care of the public. The public will take care of the bottom line, which then takes care of the business. And it's that circle. Is that kind of what you're talking about? And talk to me more about the importance of that.
100%. And it starts with, I'll add an extra layer to that. The leadership team has to take care of themselves first.
Yes.
That's where it starts. You cannot run a business without a team.
Yeah.
You can run a business solo. We know it very well, right? But you're only going to be able to grow to a certain extent.
Right.
And you've got to be able to take care of yourself in order to be able to take care of the team around you. And again, like you said, taking care of your employees and setting an environment for them, setting clear expectations for them on how to be successful, celebrating their wins. The environment you create for them is the environment that they're going to create for the guests. And it's going to trickle through the entire organization. And again, a lot of people thought, especially in my industry back in the day, when the economy was a lot different, they were very quick to hire and quick to fire. And there was an extraordinary pool of candidates out there with a lot of experience to be able to pull from. That has really shifted. You're seeing more entrepreneurs out there. You're seeing less and less people go into the job market with less experience than ever before, which is putting more pressure and expectation on the leaders to take even better care of themselves and have an even stronger vision of how they want to take care of their people.
Yeah. I really, really love the idea that, again, how you take care of your people, the environment that you give your people of growth, of support, of celebration, that's going to then trickle down to how they take care of their people, which is the customer. And so I think, again, laying that out. And you're right. Again, we can take care of our people. So many people just think of the rewards of the attaboy, attagirl, and doing those, but no, it's giving them a chance to grow. It's giving them ownership of what they do, including them in the process. Like you said, very clear, laid out definition of their role, their expectations, and making sure they're part of the vision. I think those are all really great ways to, again, take care of your people, because the more that you give, they will give back. So.
Yeah. And especially in this day and age, knowing how to handle those really challenging moments, right? Talking about mental health, having open conversations, training your team around that subject. I still often hear operators go, oh, so-and-so called out again today because of a stupid mental health issue, right? If that's the way we're going to approach working with humans, we're in a really dangerous situation.
We are.
So,
and like you said, it starts with you. I have so many times seen, the boss working 24/7.
Right.
And that's setting the stage, because a lot of times the employees are going to be like, I can't do that. They're going to look down on me. Yeah. Now, the flip side is that they're never there. And we know that's a problem too. Right. I think it's like you said, the healthy balance. It's the expectation that, watching out for each other. And if you're noticing those things, encouraging them. I remember I had a boss one time, and she gave all of us, we had a team of about 12 of us, and she gave all of us a bonus, but she told us specifically, you have to use this for vacation. She's like, I'm not giving it to you. You go show me the plane tickets you want to buy, and I'll buy them for you. She's like, we've all been working hard. We all need to take time off. And that always stuck with me.
Yeah, I was having a conversation this morning with a client actually who was talking about how he wanted to show up as a leader. And he said, I don't want to be a martyr. And I said, well, let's define that. What does that mean to you? And how are you showing up? And what are you saying on your days off? Are you celebrating that you've been healthy and you got some rest? Are you feeling guilty if you say something like that to your team because they view it as you should be working all the time? And there's there's a huge culture in America, right? That we've got to be working harder. It's never enough. Go, go, go. Always stay ahead of the competition. And again, in the restaurant industry, that is just so prevalent. And we're working really hard to shift that culture of well-being over this burning yourself out and working too hard.
Yeah. And I just truly believe exactly what you're saying, that, if you want to build the bottom line, it starts by building your people. And part of building your people is giving them the freedom to take care of themselves. Again, when you're there, give your all. And when you're off, take care of yourself, because we can't serve when we're depleted.
Right.
It's just, they can't give that level of experience, that level of authenticity, that level of hospitality when they're depleted.
It's so easy for, sometimes I catch myself like kicking myself in the moment going, Christin, this is so easy for you to stand up here and say, right?
Of course it is. Oh my God, it's so easy.
We're like, just take days off and just let your team do it and let them make mistakes. And it's, this is one of the major things I work on with clients is setting boundaries. And that takes time and practice and creating systems to create new habits, right? We know that very, very well from James Clear and Atomic Habits, but it is also about not feeling guilty. You've got to figure out how to let go of that guilt when you're away from the business, because, and it all, it really starts with shifting that perspective. If you are looking at your business as, I have to be there all the time because the employees count on me, they want you to take days off too. And as soon as you start to step back a little bit and view it through the lens of, I'm giving them an opportunity to grow and shine and develop so I can take a break and come back better, that's a much healthier approach.
Absolutely. And I've heard it a lot saying, well, I have to be there because if I'm not there, it's not going to get done. Well, think about the message that sends to your team if they don't think you trust them enough to give them the reins,
I don't want to work for somebody like that.
I know. Exactly. So now tell us about this pivot that you made, because again, you were in the field and, now you're doing coaching to help them. So I would imagine part of it's on the passion of wanting to help other people, but that's not always easy to do, is to, do a pivot too.
Yeah. I mean, I've been in, the business of serving other people my entire career, and I love it. It's a huge value of mine and what makes my heart happy and fills my cup. And I was, in restaurants for 20 years. I'd opened 13 restaurants, mostly different concepts. Loved it, but we moved very fast in all the companies that I worked in, whether it was in the independent space where we opened 5 completely different new concepts, or we're working for a fast growing brunch concept where we went from 6 to 48 locations in 7 years. Wow. We were moving and hustling. I realized that through opening the same concept over and over and over again, and some leadership that I was working with at the time, that was not fulfilling for me. I didn't like the environment that I was in. And instead of addressing it and doing something about it, I let myself stay in the position. I completely lost my confidence. I started gaining a lot of weight. I started eating really unhealthily, and I started drinking really heavily. And it really came to a head for me where my life was in danger. My husband's life was in danger. And I looked at myself one day in the mirror and I said, you need to stop this right now. I need to get some help. And as soon as I said that out loud, everything changed. I started investing in myself again, started working with a coach, and reconnected with my values, which was something that I'd never done before. I didn't even know I was burnout. I wouldn't let myself admit it because I was too stubborn.
Sure. Yeah.
And then through that process of coaching, realized that one-on-one time that I was spending with my coach was exactly my favorite part of working in the restaurants. And I just said, I'm going to start a business. This is it. I'm hooked.
Well, and it's interesting, the moment that you said it out loud, this is not good for me. You did exactly what you just said. You led yourself first. And that's exactly what you were saying.
I was exposed. I mean, I was exposed to me. It was just, I had rationalized for years and years and years. Oh, you're not drinking too much. Oh, this is just the industry you're in. Oh, your husband's in the wine business too. Everybody around you drinks. This is our, we have no kids. You've got all this freedom and time and whatever. You work hard. You deserve this. And as soon as I just called myself out and cut through all that bullshit, everything changed.
Exactly. So let's go ahead and kind of spin this back towards specifically women, since the show is called Women Winning Their Way. And so many of the people watching the show are women in business. for women in business, regardless of the business that they're in, what are some things that you think, maybe are unique to women in business, either some characteristics, traits that we have that could be our secret weapon, or just other things? Again, because a lot of women do have families, a lot of that responsibility falls on them, even if they have a wonderful significant other. So, what are some things that you would talk to for women in business specifically?
Yeah, I think, I'll tell you a story about a client that I had who's just an extraordinary human being, really struggled with how much her emotions were showing up in her leadership role and the way that they were being perceived by her team and her boss specifically. So we really worked through creating a safe space for her to be able to recognize those emotions and understand what they meant, that those emotions were triggering that something was really important to her, and then deciding what to do and how to act on those, because emotions are just energy flowing, right? And when we start to bubble over, we kind of, those emotions get stuck, that energy gets stuck, and we figure out how to work through them. So emotions are very much a superpower for women. I also think they are a really great trigger for us to recognize a moment when we need to advocate for ourselves. And I think that that's something that women have to do so much more often than men do, and be very careful about the way that we craft that message and who we say that message to. So I think those are a couple of superpowers for sure.
Can you give me an example maybe of how we could advocate for ourselves better?
Yeah, I think I'm an introvert, and so I've done a really poor job of this. I would say speak up in meetings. If you've got a thought, throw it out there. Don't sit around and wait for the rest of the room to speak up. Make sure that you're making your voice heard. If you are not having consistent one-on-ones with your boss, your direct boss, call for those and make sure that they're happening consistently. I truly believe that leadership development is something that we are 100% responsible for. Yes, a company should be putting things in place to develop yourself, but as soon as you let that go, which I did from personal, knowing from personal experience, and you put that onus on somebody else, you have the potential to stop learning and growing. Yeah. And so taking control of that development, speaking up for what you need, building those relationships with your leadership team, and making sure that you are having those really crucial one-on-ones with your team. I was having this conversation again this morning with an owner of a concept who's not getting what they need from their director of operations because the expectations are not clear.
Yeah.
And as soon as that person stood up and started advocating for themselves and saying, I'm calling this meeting, we're going to do this consistently, here's what I need from you, the relationship has completely shifted. And guess what? The expectations are being met and the business is operating at a better level, and the trust and respect is there between the two of them, which is really healthy.
That's fantastic. I love hearing that. So, Christin, you are just a wealth of knowledge, and I love the messages because I think that they do go across all different types of organizations and companies. And I just think it's so valuable to be able to look into some of these components. I know that you are really putting your heart and soul into your coaching business, but talk to us a little bit about what's next for you.
Oh my gosh. Well, you know this, Claire, right? Like, as soon as you start to dip your toe in the water here and those creative juices flow and you get that sense of empowerment and autonomy that maybe you were lacking for a little bit, it's like a freight train. Yep. I'm like, okay, there's opportunity everywhere. There's shiny objects around every corner. Because I'm a really high achiever, I am constantly checking in with myself and balancing myself. Before I started this business, I redesigned my lifestyle and really understood what I wanted my life to look like so that I had a check and balance of how the business was going to show up in that. So I didn't burn out again. So what's next for me in the next, I would say, year is to continue to invest in myself, to be the best coach that I possibly can be. I'm going to start group coaching in a couple of weeks, which I'm really excited about. Yeah. And I just launched my first book earlier this month in October. And so continuing to show up with that and give that out to restaurants and people that are interested in leadership, again, in the industry. and continue to book some speaking engagements, and just continue to support leaders out there with with as many resources as I can. That's really my mission.
Fantastic. I love that. Christin, thank you again for being here. I could talk to you all day because our thought processes are so similar. And I know that I could learn so much from you. And again, we could just have some really great conversations that I know will continue together offline. But before we go ahead and close things out today, I have one last question for you. Now, we are going to put all of your information in the show notes, the link to your book, the link to your coaching. So if anybody wants to reach out to you, they know how to get in touch with you. But the last question I have for you is, sitting where you are today, how do you define success for yourself now?
Being happy and being grateful and being healthier mentally and physically than I've ever been in my life.
That's fantastic. Well, thank you again so much. You have brought so much value, and I just cannot wait to share you with the world. So thanks, Christin.
Thank you. Thanks for your time. Really appreciate it.
Oh my God, I could talk to Christin all day long. Even when she was talking about the books and everything, I'm like, yes, I am right there with you. So some of the things that she talked about, I loved when she talked about that some of the bases for success are really focused on, do you have a clear vision and are you intentional? And I think those are at the basis for everything. Your vision lines you up. And when you can wake up every day and take intentional actions towards creating that vision, you're always going to be in a great spot. She talked about the trinity of, in her words, it was food, service, and ambiance, but then translating that into any industry of our product, our service, and then our experience. So looking at those, do you have systems in place to make sure that you're not only delivering and have a high quality product, but are your systems supporting you in delivering a great service? And then also, what is the experience? She talked about the idea that we all have a team, whether we're entrepreneurs or run a big business, we all have a team, even if it's behind the scene. And we have to remember to invest in our teams, that when we take care of our teams, they are going to be the ones that help to be able to create the experience. In her case with the restaurant, I thought it was really powerful when she said, when you treat your team and you create an environment that fosters growth with your team will then be able to duplicate that kind of experience and environment for the customer. So I think that there was so much power in that, because as leaders, we have to take care of our people. I love, though, how she backed it up even and said, before we even take care of our people, which is something that I talk about a lot, the idea that you got to take care of yourself first. And no truer word said, because you can't take care of others unless you take care of yourself. So learning how to lead yourself, grow yourself, support yourself. And we talked about some of the things like mental wellness, taking time off, fueling yourself with food, with right thoughts, with all of those things. Because the more that you can be at your top level and be at your A game, that's going to send a message and help others to do the same. And then, she just talked about the ideas that as women, using our emotions, women can sometimes be called too emotional, but now we know with emotional intelligence, that's actually an amazing skill set. So learning how to leverage your emotions to build connection and to show people that you care and to bring your humanness in. And then also to learn to advocate for yourself, to speak up, don't hold back, ask and demand for that seat at the table. You don't have to do it in a negative way, but go after what you want, because we've earned the right. So I hope you found as much value in this as I did. I really hope that you can share this with others out there, because I think there were so many wonderful nuggets in there. And please don't forget to go to the show and make sure that you give us a 5-star rating, that you like it and that you share it, so that we can continue to bring these messages to the world. I'm Clara Capano. Thanks again for being here for another episode of Women Winning Their Way.